All right, welcome back to the channel. If you're a coach, consultant, expert, or course creator, then today I've got a great video for you, because what I've done is I've just finished creating a presentation where I break down what I consider the top 3 strategies that you can leverage in 2024 if you want to get high ticket clients in a way that is consistent, predictable, and most importantly, profitable. Now, these 3 strategies are: number 1, Instagram follower strategy; number 2, video sales strategy; and number 3, online workshops. So if you stick until the end, I'm going to be not only breaking down each and every single one of these strategies, I'm also going to give you the KPIs that you need to be hitting, and I will also give you some suggestions and common mistakes that people make when they do approach these strategies. Now, before we actually get started, let me give you a quick sneak peek of what the presentation is going to be about. So as you can see, I really go in details, I really break down all the KPIs, and I give you some very valuable suggestions. Now, without wasting any time, let's get started. One final thing I promise before we get started, but it's just to give you some context, is that the strategies that I'm about to share with you work great for offers that are priced above $1,500. Now, that doesn't mean that if your offer is priced below $1,500, these strategies are not going to work. What I'm saying is that they're not going to work as well as if your offer will be priced at $3,000, $5,000, $7,000, so on and so forth. So now let's get started with the first strategy, which is the Instagram follower strategy. So the way the strategy works is quite simple. You have different ads. These ads send traffic to your Instagram profile, and if your Instagram profile is optimized in the correct way, meaning that you have a strong bio, you have highlighted stories, you have the right content for the pin post, and you have general good content, if all of this is done and your profile is well optimized, then you're going to start getting followers. Some of these followers are going to DM you first. Maybe they're going to see that you have a call to action in some of the posts. Maybe they see that you have a call to action in the bio. And some of these, as I was saying before, they will message you first. With some other followers, you might be the first one to reach out to them. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're going to have conversation with these followers. You're going to go through a setting script, and then with a percentage of these DMs, you're going to be booking in a call. Now, when it comes to the Instagram follower strategy, one of the most important variables that do play a big role is the profile conversion rate. Now, what is the profile conversion rate? The profile conversion rate is a metric that is calculated as new followers divided by profile visits. So before you even think about running Instagram follower ads, you really need to make sure that your Instagram profile is optimized, because if this metric is below KPIs, and I'm going to share with you the KPIs in just a second, it's basically going to be pointless, because you're going to be driving traffic to an Instagram profile that doesn't convert. So how do we calculate the Instagram profile conversion rate? So as I said before, new followers divided by profile visits. Now, in order for you to get the total number of new followers and the total number of profile visits, this is what you need to do. Step number 1, you need to open the Instagram app. Step number 2, you need to go to the professional dashboard. Step number 3, you need to click on accounts reached. Step number 4, you want to select last 90 days. Again, you can do it last 7 days, last 30 days, but the wider the time frame, the more accurate the data will be. So my suggestion will be to do last 90 days. Step number 5, you want to scroll all the way to the bottom and write down the number that you see close to profile visits. Step number 6, you want to go to total followers and you want to select last 90 days. So once you have the total number of profile visits and the total number of followers, then you just want to use this formula. So let's say, for example, that in the last 7 days, you got 1,000 followers and you got 8,500 people to go on your profile, 8,500 profile visits. That means that your conversion rate is 11.7%. Now, as I was saying before, when it comes to the Instagram profile conversion rate, the KPI should be ideally above 15%. So if right now you do the math and you see that your Instagram profile is converting below 10%, then before you even think about running Instagram follower ads, there are some things that you need to change on your profile, and I'm going to show in just a second what those things are. But that's considered bad. If you're between 10 to 15%, then just know that there are a few things that you can improve on the profile to really optimize and maximize this strategy as much as possible. And if you're converting above 15%, that means that you're in a good spot. Now, with some offers and some markets, you could even be above 20%, meaning that if you get 100 people to go on your profile, you can even get 20 new followers, 25 new followers. But in most cases, I would say that 15% is a good metric. Now, as I was saying before, if you have a bad score, there are 3 things that you need to work on. Number 1, you need to rework your bio. Number 2, you need to rework the highlighted stories. So when it comes to the highlighted stories, ideally, you should have some stories with social proof, some stories about your story, some stories with like a Q&A or some common question that people ask you. And you can also have some stories that are more lifestyle based or the behind the scenes, because people want to connect with you on a more personal level. And the third and final thing that you need to work on is going to be the pin post and the content in general. If you have bad content, you can drive as much traffic as you want on your Instagram profile, that is not going to convert. So these are the 3 things that you really need to work on. Now, when it comes to the KPIs, when it comes to the metrics that you should be hitting, there are 5 main metrics that you need to track. Number 1, you want to track the Instagram profile conversion rate. So as I said before, it should be 15% or more. If you are outside of KPIs, meaning that you're converting below 15%, you need to rework your bio, rework your highlighted stories, rework your pin post, and your content strategy in general. The second metric is going to be the follower to DM conversation. So basically, let's say that you get 100 followers and you get 10 conversations. That means that your follower to DM conversion is exactly 10%. Now, these metrics should be between 25 to 40%. The third metric that you need to track is the DM to booked call. And the range here should be 10% as a minimum. Ideally, should be 15% or more. So what does that mean? It means that if you get 100 DMs, if you have 100 conversations with people, you should be booking at least 10 calls. If you're booking less than 10 calls, it means that you need to rework your setting script. Then you have the show up rate. For the show up rate, the metric is between 65 to 70%. If you are seeing a show up rate that is below 65%, then you need to improve your pre-call page. So the pre-call page is basically the page that people see once they book a call. And on that page, most of the times you have the rules for the call. So make sure to show up on time, make sure to be in a quiet room, make sure to save the date in your calendar, plus also all the reminders. And on the pre-call page, a lot of times you also have some educational content, and you also have some social proof, client case studies, client reviews and testimonials. All just assets in general that are designed to warm up people, educate them, and make sure they show up on a call. So if you're below 65 to 70%, these are the things that you need to work on. And finally, closing rate when it comes to this strategy should be between 25 to 30% on live calls, meaning calls that show up. If you are seeing a closing rate that is below 25 to 30%, then you basically need to rework the sales process. That could be the offer, that could be the way you package the offer, that could be the tonality, the scarcity, the way you present the offer. There are a lot of things realistically that you need to work on, so it's a bit difficult for me to tell you exactly what you should be working on, because there are so many elements that impact the closing rate. And when it comes to the IG follower strategy, I just want to show you really quickly this tracker here that shows you the impact that each and every one of these variables has on the overall return. Okay, so these metrics, the one where you see the green tick, are the metrics that you control. So let's say, for example, that you spend $1,000 a month. Let's say that your Instagram profile conversion rate is 10%, meaning that if you get 100 people to go on your profile, 10% of those convert into followers, meaning 10 followers. Let's say that the cost per profile visit is 50 cents. The cost per follower in this case is going to be $5. This is just a metric that is calculated as the Instagram profile conversion rate and the cost per profile visit. So if you get a cost per follower is $5, that means that with $1,000 a month, you're getting 200 new followers. With 200 followers, let's say that you have a 30% follower to DM conversion, which again, these are all the metrics that I was telling you to track before. Let's say that you have a 30%, which means that it's within KPIs. That means that you're having 60 conversations in the inbox. If you have a booking rate that is 10%, meaning that again, you have 100 conversations. Remember what I said before, 100 conversations, 10% of those conversations turn into a call. You have a 10% DM to book call rate. That means that you're going to have 6 calls booked. Let's say that you have a show up rate of 70%. Live calls is 4.2. Let's say the closing rate is 40%. That means that you make one sale. Actually, this is going to be a little bit more than one sale. It's going to be 1.26. That means that overall you are making $6,300. Now, why am I even showing you all of these? I know that your brain right now might be going in 1,000 different directions, too many numbers, but again, it's completely fine. I just want to show you what happens once you improve a couple of these metrics. So you see that right now we have a return of 6.3, meaning that for every dollar that we put in the campaigns, we're getting $6.3 out. Now again, what are the metrics that we can work on? As I said before, one is going to be how well your Instagram profile is optimized. So let's say, for example, that instead of converting 10% of your followers, you are converting 15% of the profile visits into followers. Automatically, you add another $3,000 in revenue with the same exact ad spend. Or on the other side, let's say that you have a very bad Instagram account and you only convert 5% of the visitors into followers. That means that now you basically cut in half your revenue. You go from 6,000 to 3,000. Same thing also goes for the, let's say, for example, the DM to booked call. In this case, we set 10%. 10% is the KPI. Let's say that you have a very bad setting script, and instead of converting 10% of those conversations into calls and you only convert 5, now automatically you are only booking half of the calls, you're making half of the offers, and you have half of the people to be on a call. So once again, the return goes from 6 to 3, meaning that you just lost $3,000. So you see how all of these metrics are connected. And a lot of times people run the Instagram follower strategy without even tracking the data, which pretty much makes it impossible for them to see a return and for them to be profitable. So again, very, very important that you track these metrics. It's something that you should be doing every single day. And that's basically going to be the only way for you to really optimize the performance over time. The second strategy that you can deploy is the VSL strategy. So when it comes to the VSL strategy, you have mainly 4 pages. So the first one is going to be the opt-in page. Now, one thing that I will say about the VSL strategy is that in some cases, you can send people directly to the video page, meaning that you don't even collect their details. You just send them to the page where they watch a video and then they book a call. Now, again, most of the times you want to have the opt-in page, and the reason why you want to have the opt-in page is because you want to collect their email address and you want to collect the phone number, so you can do outbound, and they can also be added to an email sequence. But there are some cases with some specific offers. Most of the times this is for like B2B, where you can send people directly to the VSL page. But I was saying before, you have 4 main pages: opt-in page, video page, booking page, and confirmation page. So this is what the funnel looks like. Now, if you do have the opt-in page, you want to collect the email address and the phone number. You want to collect the email address so that you use the email to set up an automated sequence that nurtures and educates each lead over time. And after the sequence ends, you want to transition them to receive weekly emails to maintain the engagement and to basically keep the list active. The second thing that you want to work on is the phone numbers. So if you are in Europe, you want to do outbound calls or WhatsApp to set appointments. Now, again, you don't need to do both. You can even just send them messages on WhatsApp to set appointments, or you can just call them. Ideally, of course, you should be doing both. If you are outside of Europe and WhatsApp doesn't really work or is not really used by many people, then instead of WhatsApp, you want to set calls through SMS. So if you are in the US or in Canada, you want to do outbound calls or SMS to set appointments. Now, when it comes to the VSL, you have 2 main types of VSLs. You have direct VSLs and you have indirect VSLs. When it comes to the direct VSL, it's best for a more sophisticated audience. It tends to be shorter and straight to the point. Most of the time it's going to be 4 to 8 minutes. It's focused on a clear offer, and it sometimes includes a guarantee to encourage immediate calls. Then you have indirect VSL, and indirect VSLs are better suited for a B2C audience or a less sophisticated audience. And generally, they are longer and more informative. They can be 20 to 60 minutes long. Now, when it comes to the KPIs for the VSL strategy, once again, there are 5 main metrics that you need to track. Number 1 is the opt-in rate. Now, what is the opt-in rate? Very simple. So when people go to your opt-in page and they enter their details, you want to track how many people go on this page and enter their details. So that is the opt-in rate. The range or the KPI should be between 20 to 25%. If you are converting less than 20 to 25% of the visitors, then you want to make sure that the message between the ad and what you're saying on the opt-in page is congruent, because a lot of times it's not congruent and it confuses people. Or the second reason why you might have a low opt-in rate is because the claim or the promise that you're making to people is just too weak. Second metric that you want to track is the booking rate. The booking rate is basically going to be the percentage of people that watch the VSL and then book a call. For that metric, again, it depends whether you do outbound or you don't do outbound. If you don't do any type of outbound, whether that is SMS, calls, then the metric should be between 6 to 10%. So if you get 100 people to opt in and watch the VSL, you should be booking between 6 to 10 calls. If you do outbound, once again, WhatsApp or SMS or calls, then that metric should be between 10 to 14%. So if you get 100 leads, 10 to 14 calls should be booked. If the booking rate is below these KPIs, then you need to either rework the VSL, meaning that the video is not converting leads into calls, or you need to rework the appointment setting process. Whatever you're doing with SMS, whatever you're doing on WhatsApp, whatever you're doing on calls needs to be reworked. The show-up rate should be 70% or more. Once again, if the show-up rate is below 70%, it means that you need to improve the pre-call page plus the reminders. So again, the pre-call page, just so you also have some context, basically looks something like this. So You have a short video where you give them the rules about the call. Again, make sure to show up on time. If you need to prepare any data, prepare some data. You have some more social proof. And then you also want to have the YouTube channel so people can get nurtured and they can get some value out of your content. So if your show up rate is below 70%, you need to rework those two variables. Then you have the closing rate. Once again, the closing rate should be between 25 to 30% of the calls that show up. If it's below that, basically the same thing that I said before. You need to rework the offer. You need to rework the script that you're using. You need to rework the way you position and present the offer. There might be multiple things. And then you also want to calculate the cost per call. Ideally, the cost per call should be between 3 to 5% of the offer price. And I'm going to explain what that means in just a second. Once again, I have another calculator here, which basically shows you what are the metrics that you need to track and the impact that these metrics have on the return and the money that you're going to be making. So these 4 metrics that you can control are the opt-in rate, the booking rate, the show up rate, and the closing rate, and the offer price. So you can see here that if we spend $1,000, let's say that we're spending $2 to get someone on the page where they enter their details, so to the opt-in page, we're going to get 500 visitors. Let's say that the opt-in page converts at 10%, meaning that 10% of the people that go on this page enter their details. We're going to be paying exactly $20 for a lead, which means that with $1,000, we're going to be getting 50 new leads. If the booking rate is 8%, meaning that the VSL and the appointment setting process converts at 8%, that means that out of the 50 leads, we are booking 4 calls. If the show up rate is 70%, it means that 2.8 people are showing up to the call. If our closing rate is 40%, it means that we are making 1 sale. Once again, it's going to be a little bit more than that, actually less. It's going to be 0.8%, which means that we are making $4,200 in revenue and our return is 4.20. Now, once again, why am I showing you this? Because you see that if you just work on 4 key metrics, everything is going to change. So you can see here, let's say that our opt-in rate improves and is within KPIs. Look, now we're spending, instead of $20 for a lead, we're spending $10, and now we are basically seeing an $8.4 return for every dollar that we invest in ads. Let's say that we also improve the VSL booking rate and we go from 8% to 10%, meaning that the video is a better video, it's converting more people, or we have a better system for the appointment setting through SMS, through WhatsApp, and we book more calls. Automatically, we have more people that show up to the call, and we make a 10.5x return. So we spend $1,000 and we make back 10,500. But the same thing could also apply to the opposite scenario. Let's say that we have a very bad VSL and it doesn't convert people. Now automatically, you can see that we're only booking 3 calls out of 100 leads. Now our return goes all the way down to 3.15. So once again, this is just to show you that if you track these 5 metrics correctly, and if you improve them over time, it's pretty much, and I really mean it, impossible not for you to see a return and be profitable with the VSL strategy. Then the third and final strategy that I would recommend in 2024, if you want to get clients consistently, is something called the online workshop. So let's say, for example, that you have an Airbnb offer. You teach people how to leverage other people's properties to make money with Airbnb. Perfect. You could be creating an online workshop where you teach people how to find their first property and get started with $1,000. Just as an example, you basically just want to pick a topic that you know that your target audience is interested in, and then you create an online workshop. Now, what do I mean by online workshop? The online workshop could be you jumping on a Zoom call where, again, you present some slides, you have a presentation, you have a Q&A at the end, and that could be 2 hours long. Or an online workshop might also be an event of a couple of days. So let's say that it's a 3-day event. Every day you jump on Zoom, you present a specific topic, you present a specific presentation, and every day people stay with you for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever the case might be. The point is that it's live. There are some topics that you're going to be covering, people get value, and at the end, they book a call. So in this case, the process is really simple. So you have the registration page, something similar to the opt-in page that I showed before. Now again, for online workshops, I do have some templates that are working very, very well, that are converting above 35%, and they're a little bit longer, but I'm not going to show them to you because they are quite difficult to set up. So the one that I showed before, the opt-in page, is quite easy to set up, even if you don't have a lot of experience in ClickFunnels, Go High Level. They are quite easy to set up. So you want to have the registration page. The second page that you want to have is something called the VIP upsell page. So in this case, you also want a percentage of the people that are registering for the online workshop to buy a VIP ticket that can be priced between $47 to $97. And these people, they are just going to be getting maybe like an extra Q&A section at the end. Maybe they're going to be getting some tools. Let's say, for example, again, the Airbnb offer that I was telling you about before. You could be giving them like a script on how to approach landlords. Or you could be giving them a calculator on how to calculate the profitability of an apartment. Or you could also be adding them to a VIP networking group on WhatsApp or a special community. Again, the point is that you want to sell them something that is between $47 to $97. That is, from what I've seen, the sweet spot. The reason why you want to have a VIP upsell is because if you charge a small amount upfront, you can liquidate most of the ad spend. So if you spend $10,000 in marketing, in advertising for a workshop, ideally by the time the workshop starts, you can already make $10,000 or more, meaning that you basically advertise and marketed the online workshop for free, which is quite powerful. Then you want to have the confirmation page. On the confirmation page, again, you want to make sure that they know how to join the workshop, that they have some tools or resources or content that they can go through before the workshop, and that they know exactly how to get the link to the workshop. Then on the day of the event, you do the live workshop, you go through some slides, you go through a nice presentation, you give them value, you educate them, you present yourself as the authority, you show them social proof, and then at the end, you present your offer and you book a call. Now, in some cases, you can sell product directly, but most of the times I would suggest selling the product through or the program through a call if it's a high ticket program. If it's like a course that is between $1,000 to $2,000, then you can also sell it directly on the call, just sending people the link to the checkout page or the sales page, and that can work. But if you sell something for more than $2,000, and especially if you don't have a big brand, then I would suggest sending people to a call. Now, when it comes to the KPIs for the online workshop strategy, the first KPI is the opt-in rate. So for the opt-in rate, you should be seeing a 20 to 25% opt-in rate. If it's lower than that, it might mean that the topic that you chose is boring, there is no really any interest, or it might mean that you have a weak registration page or that the value about the workshop is unclear. Second metric that you want to track is the VIP upsell rate. So let's say that you get 100 leads, they sign up for the workshop. Ideally, you should be converting 10% of those into the VIP ticket, meaning that 10% of those people should be giving you $47, $67, $97. If it's below 10%, it means that the offer is very weak and you need to rework it. The shop rate should be around 40%. Now it's a lot lower, but it's completely normal because it's a live webinar. Some people are busy, some people forget, but the KPI should be about 40%. So if you got 1,000 registrations, about 400 leads should be showing up to the workshop. If it's below for 40%, maybe the process that you have to send reminders or the tech process that you have in place is not ideal. Then you have the booking rate. So the booking rate is calculated as the number of calls that you book out of the workshop attendees. That should be 10%. So if you get, again, 400 people to show up to the workshop, then ideally you should be booking 40 calls. If it's below that, it means that the way that the workshop was designed is very poor and that you need to rework it, or that the call to action or the invite for them to book a call is not strong enough. And then you have the closing rate. The closing rate is always pretty much the same as I said before, 25 to 40%. If it's below that, you need to rework the offer, you need to reposition it, you need to rework your tonality. There might be a lot of things that you are doing wrong if you're getting a closing rate that is below 25 to 40%. It might also mean that you're doing something wrong with the marketing and that you're attracting the right audience. But again, that will be too long for me to explain how to pinpoint exactly what the problem is. Now, with that being said, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Of course, if you want to see more content like the one that I recorded today, then it's very simple. You just need to make sure that you like the video or leave a comment so I know that you are enjoying this type of content. As always, if you also have any specific topics that you want me to cover, then you just leave a comment down below. You tell me, Marco, I want to see a video on, I don't fucking know, how to create winning ads for a VSL, and I'll be creating a video on how to do that. Whatever topics you want me to talk about, just let me know, and then I'll be recording a video. And with that being said, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.